Welcome to Today I Learned a Programming Thing, a series where I show small programming tricks that I've learned that make a big difference. Today I learned how to use PERL in Bash to do searches and search and replaces. So I'm currently in my Threadster project, and what if I need to find something across my entire code base? Then I could pretty easily do that actually by using the grep command. Now grep by default uses its own kind of pattern matching regexy thing. That's not great, I don't think. So I like to use the PERL engine to do that. Now PERL is its own language. Even if you don't know anything about the PERL programming language, which I don't for the record, but I use the PERL engine all the time, you can still use the PERL engine. So let's say I'm in my code base and I need to find all functions, which would be a weird task to have to do. I don't know why you'd have to do that, but let's say you did. Okay, so what I need to do is I can use the grep command, and I will use R. R means recursive, so if I want to search in subdirectories and subdirectories of those subdirectories and so on, then I want to do it recursively. So that means I'll use the R. And this is the magic. I'm going to use P. P means capital P. Has to be capital P, can't be lowercase p. That means use the PERL engine. And the nice thing about that is that the PERL engine is a very mature regex engine, way better than the one that comes by default. If you don't use this, you can still use this command, but it's just kind of a pain. So, next thing I will do is the magic. I will go ahead and do the search for all functions. Now this is all JavaScript, so I can find all functions pretty easily. Because I use a consistent function format, there's more than one way to define functions in JavaScript. So one thing about this is that, kind of like in Vim, beginning of the regex, so beginning of the regex is the beginning of a new line in this case. So you don't need to use the M flag to specify that. So I'm going to say I want a optional space function and then a not optional space. I don't think you actually need the parentheses there. And I just found all the functions, and it tells me the file that it's in, it tells me the directory that it's in, and it tells me all the functions that I have for this entire project. Now, I don't know why you'd want to have function, but this just has another example. So this is called Threadster because it deals with threads. Okay, so let's say I want to do a grep, and then I do R, P, and I want to deal with word boundary, thread, and an optional str. Okay, so I've just found all the places that thread or Threadster is used. But I've noticed a problem here. There's no capital places. There's no capital letters, but there's definitely places where Threadster is capitalized. So I need to add the insensitive case tag. Now I could see there's a capital T and there's a capital T. I've got thread and I've got Threadster. So I can use regex to search through the code base. So that's how to search using PERL, using grep in a bash environment. So the next thing I want to show is how to do search and replace in a bash environment. So in this directory I have the text, the full text of Hamlet and the full text of Macbeth, and I'll go ahead and show that in the backups directory I've got just copies of that. Let's go ahead and just to show you that it really is Macbeth. I like Macbeth a lot. That's probably, I haven't read a whole lot of Shakespeare, but I love Macbeth. But let's say I get here and think, okay, I want to replace some of this language with something that's not quite so antiquated. Like I see this right here. got that error. So ERE error, that means before. So let's just say I want to go ahead and just to make it easier on myself, I'll go ahead and replace everything with all instances of the word air with before. Oh, that's not right, because I'm doing more than just a search. So I'm going to do S, B, air, B, so that means word boundaries, and I'm going to go ahead and replace that with before. And I'm going to, I don't need to add the I tag because I've already got it in the PI right there. So the I means in sensitive case. I actually don't remember what the P and the E stand for, but for the purposes of this, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and add a global because I don't want it to do it just once in a file. And I also want to go ahead and add the M. I don't really need to in this case, actually. Sometimes it's nice to have the M because that way the beginning of the line is counted as like the beginning of the regex, so you can use the caret and the $ more easily. And for what I'm doing now, it doesn't really matter though. But basically, like if you have the M tag, caret means beginning of any line. If you have the if you don't have the M tag, then caret means the beginning of everything, beginning of the whole file. And same with $, the end of the line or the end of the file. So I'm going to replace all of the instances of that in Macbeth full text. And let's see. So now it's replaced error with before. I don't know why Vim didn't notice that and reload. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. I've noticed that. Sometimes Vim's not great at that. So I can go ahead and do a regex search in Vim. It's a little bit different. I screwed something up because I need to. I was wrong. That's not what the I is for. I'm not going to be able to edit that out, am I? It's going to be a big bad to re-record the whole thing. I'm not going to want to do that. Not found. Pattern not found. Error. So I screwed it up the first time. Forget what I said. I don't know what that I is for in PI. Oh well. So that means that I've replaced. Oh man, I feel dumb. So I replaced all instances of error in Macbeth with before, because that's the word. That's what the word error means. So what if I want to do this in multiple files at once? So that's I would do that using PERL, P-I-E-E, say, what was it, S, B, thou, was it thou? It was error I was replacing. Yep. And now, if I want to do it in all files and all subdirectories, I could do it like this. Okay, so in this case, just for the record, it does have, it says, can't do in-place edit here because I did find for everything, including folders. This is a folder, this is a folder. It still worked, but it didn't do that part correctly. Okay, so now I could do, let's see, play backs. So Vim Macbeth copy. And it changed it to before, so it's working correctly. So it's not terribly intuitive, but it's actually pretty useful. So it works out. If you enjoyed this video, then please, by all means, like, comment, and or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or upvote, comment, and follow if you're watching this on VidMe, and share with your friends on social media or IRL. The I stands for input, but I'm not using a file. Crap!